Coming up today, South Korea and the United States start their biggest ever joint military drills. The exercises come at a time of elevated tension following the adoption of tough new UN sanctions on North Korea. South Korea is set to impose new unilateral sanctions on Pyongyang this week. The move is in response to the regime's recent nuclear and missile provocations. Plus, the political world pays tribute after the former First Lady of the United States, Nancy Reagan, dies at the age of 94. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Monday, March 7th here in Seoul. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, South Korea and the United States kick off their largest ever annual military exercises on this Monday. The Key Resolve and Foal Eagle drills will involve 290,000 South Korean and 15,000 US troops. The drills, which run through the end of April, are designed with various scenarios in mind, including a preemptive strike on North Korea's nuclear facilities and missile sites. The US has deployed some key military hardware to the peninsula for the exercises, including B-2 stealth bombers and nuclear submarines. The regularly held combined drills have raised tension on the peninsula in the past, with Pyongyang calling them a rehearsal for a northward invasion. Seoul and Washington maintain the joint exercises are purely defensive. South Korea will announce a new set of unilateral sanctions on North Korea this week. The move follows the UN Security Council's sanctions resolution against the regime for its recent nuclear and missile tests. Now, collectively, the sanctions are expected to be the toughest measures ever imposed on Pyongyang. Jang Ha-na with the details.
The South Korean government is ready to reveal a new set of sanctions on North Korea in the coming days. A government official told Seoul-based Yonhap News on Sunday the new measures will include an entry ban on all ships from any country that travel through North Korean waters. Organizations and individuals known to be working with the regime to help develop its weapons program will also be added to existing South Korea and UN blacklists. The officials said the UN resolution will be the basis for the new measures, but there are more being considered. One current enterprise that could be affected is a trilateral shipping project involving the two Koreas and Russia. Under the Najin-Hasan project, coal and other items were shipped from Russia to South Korea via the North Korean port city of Najin. Earlier on Sunday, South Korea's foreign minister said the government will consult Russia on the matter, but how the new measures will affect the project is unclear. South Korea already has a number of sanctions in place. Most trade with the regime, tourism and private aid were banned in 2010 after the sinking of the South Korean warship Cheonan, which killed 46 people. The joint industrial complex in Kaesong, seen as the last symbol of economic cooperation between the two Koreas, was also closed by the South last month after the North launched a long-range missile. The new expected measures are some of the last steps South Korea can take to pressure North Korea to stop its provocations and give up its nuclear weapons. Jang Ha-na, Arirang News.
Now, China appears to have ruled out economic cooperation with North Korea in its recently unveiled 5-year business plan. According to Seoul-based Yonhap news agency's analysis of documents released from China's National People's Congress over the weekend, one of China's major business plans this year is to collaborate with Russia, South Korea, Japan, Germany and Israel in creating an economic platform. There was no mention of North Korea. Now, the news agency says this could have been affected by the decision by China's border cities to exclude economic cooperation with North Korea after the regime's 4th nuclear test in January. China has been abiding with the UN Security Council's latest set of sanctions on North Korea by complying with the financial restrictions and banning the entry of North Korean vessels to its ports. A Russian expert on East Asian affairs believes North Korea will continue to launch provocations despite the adoption of the toughest ever UN sanctions against the regime. Writing an analysis for 38 North, a US-based website focused on North Korea, Georgi Tolorea said he expected Kim Jong-un to react forcefully to avoid the risk of backlash from conservative forces in Pyongyang. He said North Korea could plan limited military clashes against South Korea, launch cyberattacks and expel diplomats who represent countries that approved the latest UN sanctions resolution. He added that North Korea could go so far as to freeze its UN membership, which would let it ignore any other measures by the UN Security Council. South Korea and the United States have vowed to strengthen their cooperation against cyber attacks. Seoul's Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning says the allies are aiming to devise cyber security policies and develop related technology through regular meetings between leaders in the field. Now, South Korea plans to benchmark the US National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center to create a control tower for cybersecurity. Seoul has raised its alert level for cyber attacks from North Korea amid the growing threats following the North's fourth nuclear test earlier this year. The regime launched a cyber attack against the South after its second nuclear test in 2009 and hacked South Korean media outlets after its third nuclear test in 2013. Now, in other news, shareholders of Japan-based Lotte Holdings, which controls Korea's fifth largest conglomerate, Lotte Group, has voted in support of incumbent group chairman Shin Dong-bin. At an extraordinary general meeting in Tokyo on Sunday, shareholders rejected a request made by Shin's elder brother Dong-ju to dismiss his younger brother from the company's board of directors. And to Dong-ju's claims his father, Shin Gyok-ho, handpicked him as his successor, Dong-bin said the 94-year-old founder of the group was unable to make reasonable judgments due to mental health problems. The elder brother was stripped of his executive titles at 3 of Lotte's Japanese affiliates in early 2015 and has been struggling to claw his way back up the ladder. A major business lobbying group says it's really no surprise that the Korean economy is suffering from somewhat of a long-term recession, as key economic indicators have been giving off warning signs after dropping for years now. Now, Kim Ji-yeon has the details.
The Federation of Korean Industries has pointed to several key economic indicators that have triggered a recession in the local economy. Declining exports, which have been on a downward slide for the past 14 months, are one of the key indicators. The unit price of exports fell for the first time in January since it was first recorded in 1988. The Federation says the rate of increase for exports is declining as well. The rate slowed down into the 7% range since 2010 after hovering in the 10% range during the 1980s. On the supply side, production is also slowing. Last year, business activity in the manufacturing sector was lower than it was in the year after the global financial crisis in 2009. On the demand side, the Federation says domestic consumption by private entities and individuals, which accounts for half of Korea's GDP, remains sluggish. The rate of increase for private consumption in Korea was 2% after 2012, less than half of that recorded in 2007. The Federation also points to the shrinking Korean population as a major factor straining the local economy. The number of Koreans aged 15 to 64 is expected to decline for the first time next year. To turn the tide, the Federation says structural reforms and finding new growth engines are vital. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
A suicide bomber has killed at least 60 people and wounded dozens of others after detonating a truck bomb at a police checkpoint in the city of Hilla, south of Baghdad. The militant group that calls itself Islamic State says it was behind the attack that targeted Shiite Muslims. Most of the victims were reportedly civilians. Iraq has seen a spike in violence in the past month. There have been suicide attacks in and outside Baghdad, all claimed by ISIS, killing more than 170 people. The former First Lady of the United States, Nancy Reagan, has died at the age of 94 after suffering heart failure. Her husband, Ronald Reagan, was president between 1981 and 1989. Their relationship was very close. Some of the observers say she exercised a powerful influence over him during his time in the White House. Offering their condolences, President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama said Nancy Reagan had made their transition to the White House easier with her, quote, warm and generous advice. Former President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary said they were deeply saddened to learn of Nancy Reagan's passing. Officials say Nancy Reagan will be buried next to her husband at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. Now, public interest has been growing in Korea over a more effective use of unmanned aerial vehicles, or as they're otherwise known, drones. The devices are being eyed for various roles beyond recreational use. Oh Soo-young reports.
Many organisations and large businesses are taking note of the high-flying commercial potential. In the past, drones were only used in niche markets, such as the military. However, with the latest technological developments, their potential in the business industry is widely being acknowledged. The South Korean government is performing various kinds of test operations to make use of the drones in various industries. It started off by using the vehicle as a means to detect and extinguish early-stage forest fires. It takes a video of the scene of the accident, sprays extinguishers on the area, and even drops relief supplies to victims.
Through a reconnaissance flight, we can detect the location of a forest fire. We enter the coordinates in a drone, which flies to the area. It could efficiently extinguish a fire even in inaccessible remote areas.
The government has already designated 5 areas in the country, including Jeonju, Busan and Daegu as drone flying zones, after considering their regional characteristics and benefits. It plans to develop the use of these drones for the next 2 years and make it possible to make use of them in real situations from 2020. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Now, if you're in a room with 9 other people, it's likely one of you is suffering major depression. Experts say depression isn't just a bad day or you feel sad, it's a crippling brain disorder. But researchers in Korea say they might be onto a new kind of treatment that could change that. Park Se-young has the details.
The number of Koreans suffering from depression has been rising steadily, surpassing 600,000 for the first time in 2015. 2/3 of patients suffer from recurrent depression despite undergoing treatment. A research team from Korea has discovered that this is due to the BDNF gene, which is responsible for producing a protein that controls the growth and function of nerve cells in the brain. The researchers studied brain MRIs of 65 patients with recurrent depression, observing a reduction of cortical thickness compared to the control group. Results indicated that stress from depression impaired the gene's ability to control nerve growth. The damage was especially noticeable in the frontal lobe, which is considered the emotional control center.
Depression leaves the brain damaged even after treatment and can reoccur. Early treatment is very important.
The research team says the development of a new medicine targeting the gene will enable more effective treatment against depression. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now in sports news, Korean golfer Jang Ha-na shot her way to victory at the HSBC Women's Champions Tournament in Singapore on Sunday. She shot a brilliant final round of 7 under to finish 19 under. Pornanong Phatlum of Thailand was second, trailed closely by Korea's Amy Yang. Now 23-year-old Jang ended the day with a stunning eagle on the par 5 18th. She celebrated her victory with a dance routine of sorts. Unfortunately, we only have photographs, so we can't show the video. In only her second year on the LGPA Tour, Jang is gaining greater recognition not only for her impressive game, but also for her elaborate victory ceremonies. After her maiden win in Florida last month, she celebrated by wielding her putter just like a swordsman. Well, that's all we have for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Have a wonderful start to the week, and thank you as always for watching. If you want to find out more of the latest news, you can do so by going to our website. You can find it by going to arirang.com/news. We also have a smartphone application where you can not just watch our news, but also our latest programs. You can just search for Arirang TV in the usual places. We'll be back with our next scheduled newscast at 12 noon Korea time. So until then, goodbye.